So let's talk about a wonderful therapeutic tool that we have called past life regression, PLR. So past life regression is based in the thought of reincarnation, and it focuses on the fact that we have many lifetimes on this planet, and every time that we are reborn into a certain family or situation, right? So we choose, based on our Akashic records, we are choosing to have the life experiences that we arranged prior to our birth. And some of them are really challenging, some of them are tough experiences, and others are very positive and wonderful experiences that we then take to the next lifetime. Now, with PLR, one of the things you have to remember is that you do not need to believe in reincarnation, and my job is not to certainly convert anybody or focus anything on a religious basis by any means, but the goal of past life regression is based on the idea that every lifetime we acquire lessons and experiences, as mentioned earlier. And so what we want to use PLR for is to explore certain patterns of behaviors. So things such as fears, phobias, dysfunctional thought patterns, or physical discomfort that keeps coming up in this lifetime. Another wonderful thing that we use PLR for is processing and understanding, making meaning of life purpose, life direction, interpersonal relationships. So for instance, if something that you struggle with is constantly picking the wrong romantic partner, and you're seeing patterns within that, or issues within the family of origin. So this is something that PLR would be wonderful for, because it is thought that in previous lifetimes we still have a connection with our soul family, or people that, especially with family of origin, that we are reunited in this lifetime. They're probably seen in different lifetimes as well. And a lot of times what this looks like, it's really interesting, is let's say that you have an issue with a parent in this lifetime. So let's say there's a role reversal, for example, and your parent acts like a child, and you're grown up with this feeling of always being the caregiver, caretaker of that adult in your life who's supposed to be that person for you. And what happens is, when we are constantly struggling with that and we do a PLR, a lot of times we'll see that in a previous lifetime there was that role exchange, a different role. So maybe in a previous lifetime it really did look different. That parent was the child, right? And you were the parent. And in this lifetime, whether there's more lessons to learn through that or just gain a better understanding of it, it's important to unravel that, right? Uncover that, make meaning, process it, and move forward. Okay, so let's for a moment backtrack and think about what is the power behind PLR. In past life regression, we are activating a trance state, a hypnotic state, and we're accessing the subconscious mind, right? So the subconscious, if we think about it, holds all of the memories, all of the emotions, all of the feelings, all of the experiences that you have encountered in this lifetime as well as previous lifetimes that are not actively pursued or actively engaged on a daily basis. So this is not something that you're thinking about, but what happens is, with every single experience in our lifetime, there's something that we are integrating into our being, into our soul, into our essence, right? Whatever we want to call it. And so let's say that a traumatic experience happened to somebody when they were 5 years old. Now, that 5-year-old, whatever they experienced, then starts to kind of integrate a belief system, right? So the belief system can be a worldview, a self-view, an understanding of caregivers, an understanding of value systems, right? And it's not always a conscious thing, right? So it could be very, very subtle. But what happens is it's now integrated into their being, and it's taken throughout different relationships and experiences moving forward. So For example, if there was a situation where the 5-year-old needed that caregiver to be there and the caregiver was not available, the child then forms the belief system of, I can't trust others, or I can't trust my caregivers to be there for me. And instead, I have to be strong, right? I have to be independent. I have to do it all myself. I have to never ask for help, and so on and so on. And given those belief systems now, there is a shift in activation and behavior, right? So I am now never asking for help, right? Very, very different from what that 5-year-old needs. And again, oftentimes this is subconscious, but now we're taking this into fast experiences in the future, right? And what happens is, so let's say that little 5-year-old grows up and has a relationship, and then has another relationship, and has another relationship. And all of those relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic, business relationships, whatever they are, there's this lack of trust, right? And the person does not recognize or does not know what is going on, what is that tie, right? And how do they break that cycle? So again, PLR, whether we do a regression in this lifetime or a previous lifetime comes up, right, it helps us process and integrate this new information into our being today, right, into our life moving forward. Now, hypnosis is a very gentle state, right, trance state. So anything that you've seen on television, I just want to debunk right here, right now. It's acting, right? So we do stage hypnosis, and there's a certain element of truth with stage hypnosis as well, but no one is making you cluck like a chicken. You are in absolute control the entire time. Hypnotic trance is a very natural thing. It's actually extremely natural, especially for kids and younger adults. So it's a very relaxed state. Think about if you are driving somewhere and then all of a sudden you are there at your location, right? So there's a lapse in time. You have no idea how you got here, for instance, right? And that 20-minute trip feels like a 5-second thing. Another way that we are in trance on a daily state is if you are watching television or you're listening to music and you're kind of just calm, right? There's no thoughts going on. There's a very relaxed feeling happening. And it's a very natural state, right? So it's something that when we have meditation, for instance, or breath work or yoga, any body movement, so dancers will really resonate with this, right? When you're dancing, artists, when you're painting, you are encapsulated in that experience, right? So nothing else matters. And you can certainly, if somebody walks into the room, you can hear them, you can speak with them, right? But you're sort of in this just relaxed, calm, very natural state. So with hypnosis, which is basically a deeper form of meditation, right? That's how we access the subconscious. When we quiet the thoughts, when we're not thinking about our to-do list or what's going to happen tomorrow or in a week, or our expectations even, right? So somebody going to do a PLR and just thinking, I want to do past life, I want to do past life, I want to do past life. A lot of times that's not the reason, right? They shouldn't be doing a past life. Maybe the answers they're seeking are in their current lifetime, or they're trying too hard. It's just not going to work today, right? So we try again. But absolutely everybody can get into a hypnotic trance. Absolutely everybody can do forms of relaxation, right? So you have to think about meditation, hypnosis, PLR, anything else we're doing with it as sort of an active process, right? It's not a one-time deal. You have to keep working at it. And just like a muscle, the more you activate it, the more you're accessing subconscious world, the more you are understanding the symbols, the more you're quieting the mind and relaxing the body. That is how you get into trance faster and faster, right? Who is a good candidate for past life regression? So somebody who is definitely very open-minded, right? So nobody who will judge the process or jump to conclusions. All we're asking is just be open, right? See what comes. Let's see how we can integrate it. Now, when we're working with the subconscious, it's almost like, well, it's the same as working with dream states, right? So when you have a dream, and let's say it is a dream of you falling, right, from something. So it's all about the symbolic aspect, right, and the processing and integrating. How does it affect your life, and whatever the issue is, how do we implement that? How do we tie the knot, right? And so with that dream, for instance, right, the goal is not to jump to a conclusion and say, oh, I'm gonna, if I go hiking today, I'm gonna fall off that cliff, right? The goal is really to say, okay, what did that dream mean? Maybe I'm jumping into something too quickly, right? Maybe it's new beginning, right? So we can think about jumping without overthinking, without having that thought process or the conscious mind step in and all those judgment and all those dysfunctional thoughts and patterns, right, come in and influence us. But just go, just jump, right? So that's kind of what is a really good thing to go into PLR with. Just an open mind, open heart. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can take that information then and make your life better, right? Make you experience less pain, experience less suffering, right? Come to your life purpose, right? And motivate you, whatever it is that you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it is imagined or it's real memories. No, right? So the subconscious mind, there's actually a lot of research in the psychological fields, right, and other metaphysical fields where we're talking about the subconscious mind and whether it's real or it's not. But at the end of the day, if the information that is presented helps you feel better, helps you live your life, stops you from living in fear, right, and helps you move forward, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's real, doesn't matter if it's imagined, right? So something to keep in mind. Another aspect is, how is information received? So people who are interested or drawn to PLR are typically familiar with books that are commonly written. So one of the gurus, right, the big teachers of PLR is Brian Weiss. And in his books, these people have phenomenal experiences, right, that are very vivid. They are able to have almost movie-like experiences, right? And it's like a storyline, right? You see who you were, you see the family interactions, you can answer a bunch of questions, right? Does it always happen? No. Is it okay? Absolutely, right? So again, just like you're working a muscle, right? You cannot expect that you're going to go to the gym once and you're going to have whatever abs, right, you want. So it's something that you have to actively work on. And when we think about it, right, there are different ways that we receive information. So again, subconscious mind, think dream state, right? Some people have very visual, vivid, vibrant dreams as if they're reliving that experience, or they are in that dream, right? So people get shaken up sometimes with it. Other people don't remember their dreams at all, right? But they know they're in a deep state of sleep anyway. So, or they have little tiny glimpses, or they wake up and they remember something, right? So there's a huge array of these things that can happen. So in essence, a lot of people who are new to meditation and breath work, they might have a very relaxing experience, right? So they just feel their body relax, almost like a paralyzed feeling, right? But you can certainly move your body. You can certainly talk and have a conversation, which is what we do with PLR, right? We are talking, I'm asking you questions, I'm asking for guidance. I am leading you, but you're also leading me at the same time. And so some people will have visuals, so they'll be able to see what they're wearing, or they'll be able to see, whatever scenario we are drawing up for the imagination at that moment. They'll be able to see colors, right? Other people are more auditory, so they'll be able to hear things, right? So, for instance, if I say, it's a fall day and you can feel the leaves beneath your feet crunching up, right? They can go ahead and hear that, or the ocean waves flowing, right? They can definitely tune into that. Other people are very sense-based, right, and touch-based, for instance. So they'll be able to feel a lot within their body. For instance, tingling, heat or cold, right? A lot of times we ask you to have a blanket nearby because it might be 80 outside, right? It might be really warm and nice and pleasant, and then all of a sudden we're doing any type of hypnotic trance and you might get cold. So something to kind of think about. The body reacts, right? The body has sensations. Sometimes this could even be a headache, right? That does go away after the hypnotic trance. A lot of times when we're working with the physical body, so let's say you have an issue that is not explained by the medical community, right? You've been through doctors and tests and medicine and nothing is helping a physical ailment. And let's say this is a IBS, right? Is a very common one, for instance. And so if we think about that, the origin of it and the energy center, and when we're working with that and you have that abdominal pain or discomfort, you might experience that in trance, right? But it's because we're working through it. It's because we're activating it. Afterwards, it will lower, right? Because we get to the origin, we rework those beliefs, we integrate it into your current life patterns. Another way is people who are very intuitive. So a lot of people are empaths, and or just have an intuitive inclination, right? You don't have to be an empath, but when we're doing hypnosis, sometimes those messages, whatever the question is, right? Let's say basic question in PLR, I ask you to, tell me who you are, or how old you are, or if you are male or female in this lifetime, or whatever else is around you. For instance, whatever clues, you might not see anything. You might look down and it might be black, right? You don't get those visual messages. You might not hear anything. You might not be able to touch anything, right? But intuitively, right away, the answer is, I am blah, 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 whatever it is, right? So you're able to right away connect with who you are, or what century this is, or what's around you. And it's that intuitive knowing, right? So again, being open and not judging and not jumping to conclusion and letting the conscious mind come in and say, well, wait a minute, I can't possibly be a 60-year-old man, right, who is doing this or that, right, or who's in the 1900s. But just accept whatever is coming to you. So a typical PLR session is about an hour to an hour and a half. If you have any sort of meditation experience or breath work, or you've done PLR before, right, or you've done hypnosis before, it will be a little bit easier to get into that trance state so that we can work with deeper levels of trance to access past lives. Now, another interesting thing to think about is, let's say the issue you are coming to me for is an interpersonal relationship. Let's just go with that one. And let's say this is a relationship with a romantic partner that you've been struggling with, and maybe it's tied into another issue like addiction, for instance, right? So it's a very deep-rooted, whether it's addiction to that person, codependency, or it's alcohol use because of that relationship, whatever that looks like. So when we have those types of experiences and we do a past life regression, or we intend to, sometimes when we go into the trance state and we are, doing the protocol, you don't go to a past life, right? And a lot of people come out disappointed, but a lot of times too, they just jump to an experience in this lifetime that has the answer, that has the origin, that has the cause, that we can then work through and build and integrate into this lifetime. So it's interesting because it's not always what we think, it's not always what it seems like, right? But the answer is still there, and the answer is still accessible. So again, being very open to whatever comes, it doesn't mean that next time we won't jump to a past life, right? It doesn't mean that next time you don't spontaneously jump to a past life. So anything is possible, right? And the more you work it, the easier it becomes. Now, the other thing is you have to remember this is not a quick fix, right? So whenever we're doing any type of therapeutic work, it is a process, it is a journey, it is an experience, right? So don't come to this thinking that, okay, I'm gonna have this one session, it's gonna fix my life, I'm gonna suddenly have a life purpose, I'm gonna suddenly have a ton of abundance and make perfect meaning in my relationships, and will be wonderful, right? Just because I know now that, the origin of that relationship, for instance, that I mentioned earlier was a role reversal, right? Doesn't fix anything. There's still work to be done, right? So my role is to guide you through that process and to be there every step of the way, helping you create meaning, helping you integrate it into the lifetime. But like any other therapeutic tool, you have to actively work, right? Just like when you're building your muscles, if you go to the gym once, you cannot become a bodybuilder. No way, right? But if you're actively working on it, and every single day or week or month or whatever the issue is, you are integrating this information, using the tools, working through the process, and actively pursuing change, that's what's going to get you results, right? So you have to come to this with very clear expectations. It is a process, it is a journey. It is absolutely magnificent and wonderful and beautiful, life-changing, right? But you have to want it, and you have to work at it, and you have to actively induce that change.